السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. Okay, we are ready to go. I'm sorry for being late.
Okay, so we're reading Seedbed of the Light, page number 13 for us and 60 on the book. And the last bullet point, the one that starts with the Lordship. The Lordship and sovereignty observed in this fleeting world point to the everlasting world. Here, we observe the manifestations of a magnificent, eternal lordship and the works of a permanent and splendid sovereignty. Consider the grandeur of this lordship's owner. He causes the ever-changing earth, which submits to him, to die and then brings it back to life, manages and directs it. He manages the sun and its satellites, all of which are subjugated to his power, and moves the whole sun-centered system.
Sorry to interrupt. Did we cover this last part? I don't remember before the bullet point, starting from, but those who do not confirm, we didn't.
We read
We
it?
did not.
I don't know if we discussed it.
We did not discuss it, actually.
Okay.
So do you have any question about it? Or any concern, any question, any point?
No, it's fine.
We generally discuss this word is illusions, lying, Satan's deceiving words and falsehoods. And this kind of words seem to be not really, we can find a real evidence. Satan's whisperings, how do I know this is Satan's whispering? What is Satan? These kind of questions may be asked, but from time to time we refer to it that Satan represents the alternative to human reality, or the reality, which means it is the way that human beings are created in such a way that we cannot think of anything without its opposite. I mean, some people may say among us that, look, we heard this on many occasions in these discussions. Do you say that? That human beings are created in a way that we cannot think of anything without its opposite. Now, whether it is true or false, whatever it is, we are always given at least two options. That's how we are. If we take, or if we think of, let's say, whatever it is, we may not know yet, at the very beginning, something true, correct, reality. Definitely human beings are given the ability to think the opposite. But now two alternatives come in front of human beings to decide, to investigate and decide which one can be true. That's why if a person says, no, I have no doubt I believe in the truth. I believe most of the people take it for granted that belief is right, or belief in God is right, or belief in nature is right. And not God, but the matter itself is right. And they say, that's it, I'm settled. It is not human. It is just avoiding the reality, one's own reality, one's own being. It's not true. If someone says, I believe in God and I have no doubt about the opposite ideas, that there is no God, the things happen by itself. No, it's impossible. If someone says, no, I don't believe in God and anything to do with religion at all, also is impossible. Impossible. We shouldn't cheat ourselves. Whatever comes to our mind comes in two forms, or dual way, two ways. And that is why some people say you shouldn't have doubt about believing God, about believing people say about the scripture, the truthfulness of the scripture, or the truthfulness of God, and if he's a Muslim, truthfulness of the Quran. Just don't doubt it, accept it as it is. It is impossible, it is just not human. We have to be realistic. Or if this person is a Christian, this person will say, no, you shouldn't have any doubt about the Bible. Impossible. I mean, it means don't use your human qualities. Don't use your humanity. Don't use your reality. Turn blind to your reality. It's impossible, because as soon as you say, for example, as a Muslim, one must say, I believe in the Quran. And whatever Quran says is true. Come on, I have no doubt about it. It cannot be true at all. Why do we do that? We don't want to use our qualities, our humanity, human qualities, to investigate. That's the problem. To think about it, to look for the evidence, and then conclude whether it is correct or not. It is denying one's reality. But Satan in the Quran, for example, is very frequently referred to, and also another word which replaces the function of Satan is one's own whims, imaginations, whisperings, which is called in the Quranic language, Arabic form, hawa. Hawa means really something which has no reality whatsoever. That is the alternative. But alternatives are given to us, not that they will confuse us. They are not in equal terms. If we start using our abilities and questioning which is right and which is wrong, it won't be difficult to make the distinction between right and wrong. Most of the people turn blind to the alternative idea. That is why they condition themselves. Otherwise, if one approaches any subject freely, of course, if I say, I believe in the Quran as the word of God, I know that, I have no doubt about it, I believe in God at all, for sure, if someone says this, it means he's conditioning himself not to question the reality, even for a short time, very short time. So what is the alternative? And can it be really true? That's why the circle of reasoning must always turn. That is the way the universe is established. That is the way that the human nature is created. That is the way that the religious sources, especially the Quran, emphasizes on the importance of reasoning. Which one is true? Which one is true? You have to decide. It is not difficult. You have to decide, but it is not difficult. The only thing is human laziness not to act according to their own reality. Just don't want to use their reality. Just want to get rid of it by saying that I believe. That's it. But people question that. Do we have to question at every moment? Yeah. For how long? Until you die. That is the word of decision. So, but I'm sure God exists, but as soon as you say something, immediately the alternative idea accompanies it and comes to you. You have to give it very short chance of that alternative, whether it can be true or not. But at the end, it may become so quick because it takes, at the beginning, a long time to decide investigation. But at the end, if you keep repeating this method or this way, at the end it comes so it doesn't take long time, maybe a fraction of second, but it must be the principle. That is the point. So when, for example, if someone else asks you, why do you see that it is created by God? So it is beautifully created by God, or perfect, so God's work is perfect. Why do you say that? You must be ready. Because you have already gone through this process. You thought about it, although it may take a very short time if you have been training yourself. But following this way, without training yourself, without investigating and educating yourself, if you say, I'm a Muslim, I was born as a Muslim, we are Muslims, without investigating, say that I should not have, claiming, not saying really, I should not have any doubt about the truthfulness of my religion. That is absolutely false. But if someone trains himself, keeps doing exercises throughout his life, at the end, it becomes so a kind of reflection that it reaches the conclusion very quickly. That is called in Arabic language, and also you can see some people use it for a realistic purpose, some people use it for imitation. You know, Iman must be, that's the word which is used in the literature, hadith. Hadith means not hadith. Hadith, what's the word? And had the dal. So it means whatever the alternative will come to you, don't worry about it. But the wrong approach, that is very common. The people keep talking about it. Don't give a chance to take seat in your heart. Just reject it. Because Iman is, they call it hadthi. But this is the wrong attitude. But very, very commonly practiced. Very common. wrong, but very commonly practiced. Hearts must be, your heart must be satisfied with it. If an alternative comes to you, which is the case almost always, don't give a chance, don't think about it, reject it straight away. That's why they cannot stand this kind of people. If someone says, how do you know? Why are you a Muslim? They hate it because they are not ready. They are not ready. They have no base. But when you start, for example, we all know from the practical life that if you want to use the hammer and put a nail into the wood, the first time, what you do? Yeah, I don't charge for it. It's free. So you hit the nail, definitely it doesn't hit properly. Most of the cases. Yeah. But by doing again and again, training, so those people who become expert on the matter, what do they do now? As soon as they put the nail on the wood, for example, all the wall, and then put the hammer on it, hit the nail with the hammer, it goes straight. But what they have to do, the experts, what do they have to do? Just take into account that if they are not careful, they wouldn't put the nail into the wood properly. Just very quickly. They think that it appears to be that they have no other alternative. It means they don't have to be careful. No, they have to be careful. They have to be careful, thinking of the alternative. If they are not careful, they wouldn't be successful. But they do it very quickly. Yeah, but they have been training for years. What we do, without being trained or without training ourselves, we condition ourselves that I believe in God and I am close to all alternatives. It is not human. Impossible. You have to go through exercises, training, until it becomes an hadth. It means automatic. But it doesn't mean that there is no alternative. The alternative is always there. Some people take 1 hour, another people, and after certain years of training, becomes a minute and then second, and then as if automatic, but not really automatic. Now, the Satan's whisperings, we cannot think of any word where human beings live, that there is no Satan. What does it mean?
That there's no other alternative outcome.
No, it means the human beings in no conditions will be left without alternative. Well, I mean, the word, the Quran is, everywhere the Quran speaks about Satan, God, and fighting each other. Good and evil fighting. So it is teaching human beings that it's always with you. So the clear verse comes to my mind now that we have guided human beings to the two alternatives, two ways, Wahdainahu and Najdain. It means always with option, two ways. That is the very explicit statement in the Quran. It is our reality. If someone says, I don't have any doubt, impossible. It's cheating himself. It means I will take the hammer, hit the nail, definitely put it in right, put the nail right there. Without training, impossible. But the problem is, always I repeat this expression, everybody knows it. Now, everybody in this class knows it. But out of this class, I don't know who knows it. I don't know. Very rare. Taken for granted belief of or religion is not real, cannot be real. The word, thinking of a word where there is no Satan. For humans, it's not it is impossible. It means it is a name that human beings have no choice, freedom. No, be careful. Freedom is within human nature. If you don't want to use it, it is there, you reject it. It means you have chosen to reject it. But we have to be very careful. Freedom comes before your conclusion. So you are free to choose from among them and conclude. Belief is your conclusion. So freedom comes before belief. It's something strange. Human freedom comes before belief. If someone doesn't use his human choice, freedom, free will, his claim to have belief is fake. It is very dangerous. You keep claiming that I believe in I know so, but you die without no reality. It is a very dangerous thing. Yeah.
So for me, the strength in reasoning or the iman in being able to differentiate and reason comes from knowing who you are. First, right?
Accepting your reality.
Right. So
you are a human being.
Even if I am, somebody really trained in hammering that nail, I know that I have trained myself and I know that I can hit it right, and that's why I will make that decision, right?
I have been trained.
Right, and I know that about myself, right? I've realized that about myself, that I have trained myself and that I have that strength. Similarly, there is an analogy I think throughout this book, and even in the recent reading that we've done about the seed, right? The seed will flourish or, show its potentialities, but only on the basis of how strong its roots are going to be, right?
It's an analogy, yeah.
Right. So knowing yourself and your roots, right, and your ability to reason are in the same vein or in the same sort of understanding. How would one get to know themselves, right? In a way that it is, one, we're all created the same, right? We're all human with the same ability to reason, but yet we're all unique too. How does one thinking about themselves in how they were created like everybody else, but also having their uniqueness to it.
So having
being unique too, being different, unique. The seed is different than the seed next to it, but the ability of the seed to grow its roots and to display its potential is the same.
How many professions are there in the world?
As many as we can think of.
Yeah, you can imagine.
Yeah.
So everybody takes one way of training himself. Yeah, but training, not conditioning. If you want to be a carpenter, there's a train. If you want to be a mechanic, there's a train. If you want to be a doctor, there's a train. Training, education. Because human nature is full of potentialities. Everybody, if you like, it's an analogy again, you water this seed, let's say every potentiality is a seed, you water this seed or this seed or this seed. Doesn't matter, but you have to water the seed in order to have the plant to grow. So what people say, usually what it appears to be, everybody has different tendencies, etc. But in the creation, in its own being, in our own reality, everybody is given all the seeds, but from the first day of our birth, we start feeding one seed more than the others. And then the potentiality-wise, everybody has some sort of, every kind of potentiality, but when we think about the abilities develop according to the way we start our potentialities, which potentiality we are really feeding or watering, as an example, so that it will grow. It will grow. And some people think that, oh, I am not talented in something. We didn't really plant it. You didn't educate yourself in this way. But of course, the psychology comes there. Psychology, discipline of psychology comes there. If they see something wrong or good, or they go back to the beginning, which kind of family life you had, or which kind of trauma you had during your lifetime. Yes, it is not absolutely wrong what they say, although the secularist psychologists say this, doesn't matter. It is the human observation, it has some sort of reality in it. But they reduce the result to the root cause, and as if human free will is not there. That is the mistake, because they don't want to burden anybody by saying that, look, from the very beginning, you're subject to this life conditions, but you carried on feeding this potentiality. That was your choice. Because you don't, no one has to follow one way, because it is impossible. Every time we have two options. So they don't deny human free will, of course, they don't, they can't. This is out there. But when they try to see the root of the problem, they accuse the conditions, life conditions that you have been subject to, but ignore or neglect, and they like to neglect. That's the tendency, general tendency, not all of them. They prefer, not all of them, there are some schools in psychology don't neglect that. But majority trainees, you know what? It wasn't your fault. Your family background was like this. Maybe, yeah. For example, you grew in an atmosphere, social atmosphere, family atmosphere, whatever, in a culture that everybody talks about feeding this potentiality, a particular potential, let's say X. Now, you found yourself as a child without knowing that you started feeding that potentiality as well. That is why, until certain age, the Creator says you are not responsible for anything, because your free will is created in such a way that doesn't really freely act until certain age. It develops. After reaching certain age, that is your responsibility now to start questioning what I have been doing. Although the society is doing the same thing, my family taught me the same thing, but now I am free to think, and I'm aware of my ability to make distinction between two alternatives. So let me orient myself. You can do that. You must do that. The families, if you are the parents, you should allow your child freely think and come to a conclusion. He or she may come to a wrong conclusion. Doesn't matter. Let her experience, him or her experience, how he is exercising his free will. Because the first time he's trying to make decisions on his own free will. So you can guide, not you can condition. Guidance is different from condition, but ultimately leave the alternative to the if parental relationship is concerned with the child, leave the option to the child himself, herself, to decide and educate, train. If you want to if you want to take care of your parental responsibility. Otherwise, what the people do, rather than guidance, they expect their children to repeat what they had been taught by their parents and condition them. As far as the parents are concerned, that's wrong. As far as the child is concerned, he has to decide. He has to make the decision for himself after a certain age. People think that social environment has a great influence. First, family environment has a great influence on the growth of a child. And then social environment has a great influence. Now, parental influence cannot be avoided. It is given because you are given life or existence within a certain family life. You cannot change. Social environment then is not really given because you can go against the teachings of your the society that you are in. What do they do usually? If you notice, they want to carry on their family environment by supporting the idea that the person must remain within the family culture and disseminate the social effect of the external environment, so have their own closed society, community life. Community life means like-minded families want to carry on their family tradition because they cannot leave the child to decide by himself or herself. That's why community life is very much encouraged nowadays. None of them is the healthy way of educating the new generation. First, we have to teach them how to decide by themselves. And of course, everybody grows grows his potentiality in one way or another way or another way. That is quite normal. Because we have been given multitude of alternatives to find a way to develop ourselves and find the truth. Whatever the way we take is open to take us or enables us to go to the right conclusion. No one can say that because I have studied biology in the 20th century, 21st century, then biology is based on his ideologies, on theories, secular understanding, so I ended up being a secular man. No one can say that. So you can choose biology, you can study biology, use your freedom and question. Definitely your human qualities will allow you to come to the conclusion that what they say has no base. You can know it. Because if you cannot know it, we are not responsible anyways. If your ability doesn't allow you to find the truth while you are studying biology, it means it is not your responsibility because you are not given the ability to do that. It means your creator, let's be free, let's speak in a free way. If you are created by a conscious being, he hasn't given you the ability to make the distinction while you are studying the biology. So your false conclusion, if it is a false conclusion, it is his mistake, the creator's mistake, not your mistake, because he has not given the ability. But it is not the case. Anybody who really uses his freedom to think can understand what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. Otherwise, the creation will be meaningless. Why? Because if I'm not going to educate myself basing on my own choice, why am I here? If everything is directed by God, and I have no free will within the order of the creation, of course. The order of the creation is established by the creator. I mean, I didn't do it. I found myself in this order. But within the order of God's will, the creator's will, do you understand the difference? I have free will to operate, but within the order, the general order. I have, for example, getting into a house, let's say this house has 40 rooms, example, palace. Now, the house is given, but within the house, you are given the option to choose one of the rooms. Now, this is called God's decision. Here you are in this house, and you have to be in this house, but you are free to choose the room you want. Do you understand the relationship between God's will and human will? Very simple. So we choose. If someone says, I cannot choose but what the whole society chooses, no, you are free. You are given the freedom. You have to make decision, and you don't have to follow the society rule, because you know that I don't have to follow the society. The Quran especially makes this case very clearly. All the ways goes to the church. All the ways, because the ways to reach the Creator God and connect yourself to God is endless. That is a very Islamic tradition. And this understanding comes from the Quran. Every way has the potentiality to take you and attach you to your source of existence, which is the Creator of the universe. You have to use your freedom. The problem is, for any reason, but mostly laziness and taking the responsibility of being in this world lightly, not using one's freedom. The problem lies always there. Because they think that mostly if you ask the people, generally what they say, especially the religious people who follow any religious tradition, whatever it is, doesn't have to be Islamic tradition, any religious tradition. If they don't want you to develop yourself your own way, it needs training. Training is not easy. To become an engineer, you study 20 years. It's not easy, but it's all right. People accept it. People don't say, oh, come on, who's going to study 20 years and then become an engineer? It's not worth it. No one says that. The life is so short. No one says that. Well, If you don't want this, the training or train yourself, what you do, okay, don't use your freedom to think, to reflect, to choose. So we are, most of the people follow their parents' way, ancestors' way. The Quran warns very, very frequently, don't follow your ancestors' way, don't follow your ancestors' way. You cannot make guarantee that your ancestors were right because you don't know. Because you don't know. If you have not decided, how would you know that your ancestors were right? Yeah? Who can guarantee? Without investigating and deciding that, they are right or they were wrong. You have to investigate. So if you find that after investigating, if you find that this way is right, my ancestors were on the same path, okay. But it must be your decision, not your ancestors' decision. So really, if you see the society, for example, if you were born into a family in a society, most of the people in this society are Christians. You found that most of the people are Christians. Why? That's the reality. Why? Why do you think? If you were born into a society and the population say that they are Muslims, most of the people, great majority of the people of that society are Muslims. Why? I don't understand why. Do they have to? Which is right? Those people who are born into a Buddhist family, they are mostly Buddhists. It doesn't mean that Buddhism is right. It doesn't mean that Islam is right. It doesn't mean that Christianity is right. In our examples now, I gave three examples. Now, Buddhist society, Christian society, Muslim society. Everybody says my ancestors were right. Why do you think this is the common disease? It's a disease. People don't question. It's very simple. Why they don't question? They don't practice their freedom. They don't see that they are free human beings. So simple. I am free to decide. Let me think. Let me use my freedom. It means give a chance to the alternative idea and make the analysis which one is right. Because you are always given the alternative idea. But of course, you are given the alternative way to choose laziness. You can choose it, but you have to suffer for it. Now, what my fear is this. If a person is born into a Christian society and claims to be a Christian, most of the cases are like this in the world, yeah? For example, let's say this society that here mostly say that we are Christians. Don't they? Okay. And the next generation of this society will carry on the same tradition. Isn't that the case? 90%, 99%, or 90% in Christendom. 90% is the case. Why? Why do you think? And if one says, well, I was born into a Christian family and this is my reality, they call it reality, that's what how my family treated me, and that's what I heard and I have seen in this society, so I am a Christian. Do you think this man did the right thing? Okay, I see that. I understand. Today is Saturday early morning. It's okay. Okay. Do you think this man is right? Look, all the environment taught me Christianity. And so I'm bound to become a Christian or to be a Christian. What do you think? Is it right? You wanted to say something?
Yeah,
or
when
question?
you're done. No, I have a question when you're done.
You related to this.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Can we say that, for example, for a person saying that, simple example, very simple example, Jesus is the Son of God, because that's what I was taught. That's everybody says in one. Do you think he is right or wrong?
Is it a matter of right or wrong, or is it he's not using his human qualities? Right and wrong seems to apply judgment, that we can at least say for certain to take it as fact simply because it was heard, the person isn't using his human qualities to investigate the reality.
No. This person is using his human quality. Let me tell you, wow, I'm not going to think. That's his choice. This is his choice. Do you think it is valid to say that Jesus is the Son of God or Jesus is the incarnate God? Do you think it is right or wrong?
I don't know if it's for me to say.
No. For you, this idea, we are not talking about a certain person. Do you think this idea of Jesus or a person being a Son of God?
Well, I would have to investigate.
So for you, as a result of your investigation, what do you think?
I haven't investigated. I haven't.
So you don't know. Okay. Who
Looked at
knows?
the reality.
So who investigated and decided that no, this idea, a creature cannot be the Son of God, inherits God's qualities. You say no. You say no. Okay, no. It's wrong. Although he has claimed throughout his life until he dies that he's a Christian because he is born into a Christian family. Now, come to ourselves. Majority. We do the same thing in being a Muslim. Yeah? But that's a problem. Here in this class, we are trying to solve the problem, nothing else. Really, fundamentally, this is the problem. So we say, definitely, I have no doubt. I'm sure Islam is true. This person also says, no, I have no doubt. I am sure Christianity is true. There is no difference now, your question. Do you have another? You want
She
to?
can go first.
No, go ahead.
Okay, he's a gentleman. No, it's
Thanks.
good. Okay.
So my question is, I mean, we're starting with the fact that we have a choice, and for every choice, there's an alternative choice. And so you have two ways to go about it. Either you go through training, or you default into, the conditioning process, which you've been born with and passed on with. So if you go into training, the point is you go through training and then you arrive at your own conclusion.
Yeah.
But we also said that at any point in time, when you know something, there's always doubt. And so you don't really know this for sure.
Doubt means
An alternative, exactly.
And,
so once you've reached a conclusion, there's also an alternative to the conclusion,
of course.
which means that you go through the same process again, which is training or conditioning.
Yeah.
So you're left like so basically your entire life you're going through an indefinite process of training.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
if it's like, right, so you have a choice, alternative choice, training, and then you arrive to a conclusion. For that conclusion, there's an alternative choice. You go through the same process, and so on and so forth. So you spend your whole life in training. And so my question is, how do you avoid, at one point, do you make the call? Because let's say it's a religion call. Let's say I was born into a Christian family, but obviously I'm in a round table with mostly Muslims probably over here.
Don't care.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And maybe next week I go to a sit down with atheists or agnostics. There's always going to be another religious scripture that I could read. There's always going to be a person who's going to be an atheist or an agnostic who has something else to say. So there's always an alternative.
Yes.
And if I look into what 9 billion people have to say about religion, let's pick a controversial topic, then at what point do I stop training, and at what point do I actually stand for something and believe in something? So
Can I give
my
you a
question,
date?
yeah, the question is like, how where do we draw the line between training and like, okay, this is what I actually believe in?
Yeah. So I can give you the date. So what is your birthday? So don't tell the year. Give me the day and the month.
1/1.
1/1. Okay, 1/1. Okay. Well, I'm not curious about your age. That's why I said I'm not interested in it. 1/1. Okay. That is your given case. There is another given case. Death. Death day. That is the end of your training. No one's
Exactly. So that's what I expected.
Yeah.
You're always going through training, right?
Of
Because
course.
you're constantly a work in progress. So then the question is, how do you go through life without believing in anything? Because you're always in training. So am I? You're always training, so you don't believe anything.
No, you believe.
No, because if you believe, there's always an alternative
No.
belief.
At every moment,
You're questioning,
you make a decision.
but you're questioning. You're not deciding.
Question and make a decision. Question and make a decision.
But how do you know that that decision is right?
At that point, that decision is right for you because that is your decision.
But then,
It means from one aspect, you keep questioning. From another aspect, you keep making decisions.
so today I'm a Christian,
Yes.
and every single day I read a page of the Quran. So today I tell the world, okay, I believe in Christianity because I don't know any better. I don't know what the Quran says. I don't know what an agnostic has to say.
Now,
So every
that
single
is
day,
valid. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Let me interrupt
Sure.
you. But I'll let you continue. But make it into a dialogue. Yeah.
right?
Okay. When you are 15 years old, if you were born into a Christian society, you are legitimately and understandably expected to claim that I'm a Christian. You cannot say I'm a Christian. You say, we are Christians. Do you see the trick? We are Christians. It's not your decision. But after the age of 15, your ability full-fledged to think, to make decision. You start making a decision between two alternatives. Alternatives are to be questioned. Together questioning, the decisions come together. So it doesn't mean that if you sit among a Buddhist or atheist family or atheist society, so you are introduced an alien idea to you because you haven't grown into a certain family, you developed certain pattern of thinking. Now the alternative comes to you clearly, although at the age of 14, 15, 16. So you don't know exactly, but now the things are becoming clearer and clearer. Now, at this stage, alternative idea comes atheism. It may be a radical alternative for you. I never heard this, right? Now, the process of making a decision may take longer. Let's make this chat. Very simple, very simple. Let's put it in the right way. So that let's make it somehow visually understandable.
Exciting.
Sorry?
This is exciting.
Yeah. That's your life.
6 years I've never seen you use.
I know.
Now, the first 15 years of age, now, you think that you are a Christian, and suddenly you heard that people say, no, everything happens by itself. Don't be ridiculous, these are all mysteries. Religion altogether are mysteries. And it takes you that much long time. This is the time of reasoning. Now, the question is here, answer is here. Now, it happens. That's your conclusion at this stage. You have encountered with an alternative idea.
Mm-hmm.
You are aware of it now, but before you are not.
Right.
You are innocent. In the Quranic teaching, but it doesn't justify you have to think, is it really true? So until the age of maturity, everybody is Muslim means, not really with capital M Muslim, everybody is potentially submitting his or her existence to the Creator. It means submitting to the truth. It means you have no responsibility. Like, although.
But then you live your whole life not responsible for your choices because your choices are based on limited information.
This is the indoctrination.
Right.
If you are indoctrinated in any culture, atheist, the Quran says you are perfect.
Okay.
No, you are safe. Don't worry about it because the Creator has not given you fully fledged freedom to think and make decisions. That is the Creator's choice, not yours. You are not responsible for it. Don't worry about it. But after this age, the question and answer. So you think about it, you struggle, you could, with fear, of course, not really the comfortable mind, saying that, wow, that some people say this. Of course, we don't. Yeah, to make the atmosphere milder. But what we don't accept what some people kept saying that the things that happen by themselves. Everything is natural. There's no God at all. How come that they deny Jesus or God? And the father said, "Oh, they are atheist people." Generally speaking,
Right.
don't pay attention to them because they don't indoctrinate themselves, fix their ideas. Generally speaking, I don't know about the parents today. So, but generally speaking, it is the case for Christian community. It is the case for Muslim community. There is no difference. Don't worry about it. It is the case for atheist community as well. They are the same. So don't take notes of it. These religious people, atheists, understand. They are bigoted people. They condition themselves. You know, they don't really think that's the Now, that's their answer. But as a young person, you go to your room. Is my dad really what they say seems to be correct? That's why it takes long.
Okay.
Yeah? But at every stage of your life, you always have two, if you like, legs. One is based on Q, questioning. The other comes to an end, A, answer. That's your belief. At this stage. Now, does it take the same Q and A? Now, there is a Q here again and another A. Does it take the same period? Because you are trained.
Right.
Yeah. The first day you take the hammer in your hand and keep the nail, put it on your hand. It's quite normal. You make a mistake, it's quite normal. Making a mistake is human. That's what we are made. So you hit your hand, next time you are careful. Now, it's less likely that you will hit your hand. And the third, the fourth, and the 1, 2 years later, you speak to somebody and hear it now. Like this. This one goes shorter, 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 shorter. At this stage, you see it is becoming shorter and shorter. In the language of the Quran, it becomes something like this. It means trembling, like it's very short time period. You cannot even, they say, you cannot even realize that because you are used to, that you are really using your alternatives. But my understanding, and let's think about it, if it's true or not, we can question if there was no such period, like Q&A period in your life. This result looks like, but it looks like a straight line. It's never a straight line until you die. This is the death, birthday, death day. Yeah, this is the birthday. Yeah. So people, okay, you see it?
Yeah.
Birthday. Here is, you are born. People celebrate birthdays ideally to get ready for the death day. Remind. What they do, they look at, they say, I have lived 65 years. They say, this is my 65th birthday, 65th birthday. It means, in fact, we have to train ourselves not for the past, get the lesson experience for the past, but for the future. We have to say, let's say this man, we don't know, but let's say died in 92. While he is celebrating his 65th birthday, he should celebrate and get ready 92 minus 65. What does it mean?
27.
Sorry?
I think 27.
27, okay. He should celebrate 27th of death day because he doesn't know, he ignores it. Look, our responsibility doesn't go back to the past. At every moment, from now on, I have to think of what? Future. What? From now on, what am I expected to do? Past is experience and finished. You have no responsibility anymore as far as the rest of your family is concerned. Think about the future. So don't say, I was born into a Muslim family, right? Background. So today I am a Muslim. No. It is in the past. Finished. It's gone. Get ready for your death day. It means, what am I going to do from now on tomorrow? That must be our habit. So if you made a mistake yesterday, you realize, it was a mistake. Come on, why did I do it? Don't be really upset about it. It is gone. Get the lesson from it. From now on, I'm not going to repeat this mistake again. Be positive for the future so that you will develop your ability towards the right thing that you realize now, because it was a wrong thing to do yesterday. Tomorrow, I'm not going to do it again. That is human perfection. Did you want to say before?
You were talking about biology as an example.
For example, yes.
And you hear a claim and then you go out and you investigate the claim and you decide based on your reasoning abilities and your observation of the reality whether the biological claim is true or not, right?
Yes.
How does that apply to historical claims? Historical claims. Historical claims. How do you
claims.
evaluate history?
Yeah.
So there's a biological fact, right? Like, cells divide. You can evaluate that, use your understanding and understand yes or no, do cells divide? But how do you apply that reasoning to something historical where you cannot just evaluate it as is? A historical claim we can't observe. It happened in the past. You were just saying you have to leave the past as the past and think about the future.
Correct.
So
that's what I'm saying, yes. I agree.
We're evaluating our reality
Yeah.
and historical claims
Hmm.
come into it? How do we use our observation to understand the truth or the non-truth of historical claims? Or do we even
No.
concern ourselves with that?
No. The last point is good. Do we have to concern ourselves with the history? For example, I see that you are not a baby anymore, or do you treat yourself as a baby in your family life? So I don't understand it. Please get the lunch of the dinner ready for me. Maybe some people never grow. Okay. Your babyhood is in the past. How much does it bother you? Gone. You cannot. What you can do now is you are now. Yeah. We always say this expression. We have to learn how to live momentarily. Do you understand that? From now and look for the future. But of course, every moment has right or wrong debris from the past. But we have to clean that by making a decision again. Q&A, Q&A, question, answer, question, answer. It never ends. None of the creatures has a straight life with no, how do you say, not trembling, that must be a good word.
Variability.
Variability, yes. Vibrations. Vibrations, the frequency of the vibrations is like this. But people think that as if they show it the heart beating chart. For example, like this. They really, it's very real. Like this, the heart beats like this, And when death comes, yeah. Now, what people do before they die, they make high heartbeats without going into this vibration of life. Right, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong. They make it from here on, it was there dead. They are not human beings. They say, I'm a Muslim, settle. I'm a Christian, settle. It means I'm dead. It is impossible. It is impossible. Be realistic. Before you die, don't make yourself or don't declare yourself as dead by saying that I am a Muslim. Our religion is perfect. It's true. What?
So oftentimes, right,
Sorry?
the reason I ask about history is because a lot of people who like to discuss Islam, they often use historical reference, right?
Yeah,
Prophet did this.
Yeah.
The example was that Sahaba did this, right? So much of the institutionalized education relies on history, and you sit there and how do you evaluate it for yourself? You can't.
No, we have to decide again. If you want to analyze the history, you have to decide about its truthfulness of being a wrong option from now forward.
Yeah.
But
how do you-
don't let, sorry.
How do you know if it's anecdotal? Like history to some extent is anecdotal, right? Like people wrote it down versus like science, which is like
Yeah, okay.
there's clear research for, let's say,
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Then how do you choose?
What do you make about it? If you don't, I don't. I don't take notes of the history at all.
right? Yeah, I mean,
But you can inherit the previous these remnants of the previous cultures. But again, they are data for you and for me now to be used as an cue to decide for the future.
But I just don't understand how like the shorter cycle time, like just because it takes me less time to get
Yeah.
from Q to A,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm still ignorant because at the A
No.
there's another question. So it's like
Yeah.
it's almost like we talked about this. It's almost like if I acquire this much knowledge and then if I there's still infinity for me to know. And if I acquire this knowledge plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, I'm still infinitely ignorant.
Every A has its own Q potentially.
Right?
So there is no end. That's what, no this straight line heart. Before you die, your heart beats up and down, frequency, up and down. It means your human qualities are functioning still. When you die, then heart stops. It's a symbol.
Right.
Heart is symbol of life. So when you are or I am given death, this is not my decision. This is the decision of the one who created the whole universe, the order of the universe.
Right.
So it's not my responsibility. I cannot stop the stars.
But as I'm cycling through Q&A, where does my belief come in? Like, I'm not believing in anything because I'm always ignorant.
No. This is every A is your belief. I think we are not on the same line. Every A is your belief at the
But that could be wrong. That could be wrong.
No.
For that moment, it's
With
right.
alternative.
No, it could be wrong. Like if I believe, if at this point,
That is very,
so sorry, 1 second. If let's take the first summit, right? Let's say from the time I'm 15 years old. So from the time I'm 15 years old, I'm basically born Christian. I believe in Christianity. Then I discover science. I realize that actually there's scientific proof about how you go from a molecule to DNA and then from a DNA to a human being. So God might not even be in the picture. There's scientific evidence for it. I discover this when I'm 16 years old and I go to school. And then I'm like, okay, so at A, I'm an atheist because I believe that there's actually science that takes me from a molecule to a human being instead of God creating the molecules. So
have
then
you thought about it?
I've thought about the science of it. And I think the science.
No. Have you thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's science which shows how you go from molecule to DNA and how you go from
but
DNA to
how
human.
how it goes. It means how the order is.
Right?
Have you ever questioned that whether they are doing it?
So you're saying, like, I've read the research, and you're saying, have I questioned if, like, the researchers did what they...
Okay, no, let's stay on it. Science discovers. Just excuse me. Why is it not working?
I'll plug it in.
Yeah, please. So we shouldn't. What science means studies how this machine is working. Right? Okay. For example, we didn't put the plug in properly. The current didn't come here. That's how it is. So do you think the plug is generating the electricity? Now, what's happening? I know how it is. I know how it is working, but the plug is not the generator, or the outlet is there, is not the generator of light. Don't you think that we have to question the source of existence of the electricity rather than finding out how the electricity comes?
Okay, exactly. So at this point, when I said to myself, I'm a self-declared atheist because I discovered the science, then the alternative solution comes in, which is, shouldn't I question that where did these molecules come from?
Yep.
And maybe there is a designer who actually put these molecules and designed the process itself of going from molecule to DNA and going from DNA, because maybe someone designed that.
Can the molecule go into DNA?
Exactly.
Without
the creator?
No,
that's the question that I asked.
By itself.
Okay.
So I know how it works, but how it works,
Okay.
for example, I know how the machine is working,
Okay.
but it doesn't mean that machine doesn't have a creator.
Right.
Engineer.
So then at point A, when I was an atheist and I started questioning this,
Good.
I was correct. So it was correct for me to live my life being an atheist.
Question.
So, but
Now,
it was
at
correct.
that moment,
It was correct for me to be an atheist.
not correct or wrong. That is what you are.
No, but
That's your answer.
that's our entire pursuit, figuring
No,
out
that
right
is
from
at
wrong.
At this moment.
Right?
But because it's the question,
Right.
at the age of 15, you have been a Christian atmosphere, and you are almost indoctrinated after the age, until the age of 15. Now, the alternative idea, atheism, came to you.
Okay.
Where?
At this point, am I right or wrong?
No, there is no right or wrong. What you are, you are. There is no right or wrong. You cannot say absolutely that I'm right for my rest of my life. Not at all.
No, but at that particular moment.
At that particular moment, what you said, really, the science answers all the questions at this first stage, yes? Because it takes maybe months, and not on the spot you become, then the science answers everything and finished, and I'm done.
Right.
No, you don't say that. It's why the frequency is so long.
Okay.
Now, when you say, oh, atheism is right, at this point, that is your conclusion. Look, I think we should come to our discussions. Because in this discussion, we use this expression a lot. Who will repeat? Belief is your
Conclusion.
no. All of them say. They memorize this. Belief is your conclusion at every moment. We are the people of the creatures of momentary existence.
So then, but your belief is neutral. Your belief is not right or wrong.
No, that
So
is
if I-
right and wrong is subjective.
Not really. There are things that are inherently wrong.
No,
Like
what?
killing.
No.
Killing is inherently wrong.
Okay, I understand. There are things that inherently wrong.
Okay.
There are things that inherently right. But there are things, not me. I am a person, human beings, with a freedom. I can make decision for myself. When I make the decision for myself, it is subjective to my decision. That's why your conclusions are subjective. It doesn't mean that there is no external truth.
No, they could be subjective, but they could be wrong. So, for example,
If you
just because something is
live-
subjective doesn't mean that
But
it's
we cannot
fine.
know. Who will know for sure that, no, that is my conclusion, but it is wrong. It is impossible. Think about it. Reflect on it. Reflect on it. Reflect on it. If someone says, I made a decision, and it is wrong, it means you made a decision about the case that it is wrong. So you cannot make sure that although the truth is objective, but it is external to human choice. That's what we are going into a little bit. Well, I like that. I'm not abusing philosophy because people don't think. Now, their objective truth exists, but no one can claim that my conclusion fits to objective truth. My conclusion is subjective. Subject means that it's mine.
Right, it could be subjective, but it could be wrong. That's all I'm saying.
If
You have the right
No,
to be
but
subjective because
you cannot avoid it. That's why this trend of Q&A.
exactly. So my question
goes.
is, where do you stop? Because at
If
any point you could be right or wrong.
Stop is here.
If the only question,
Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at my fingers. Stop is here. That's when your life is taken away. It means your existence taken away from this kind of existence that we are experiencing here. Then you are what you are. No one can ever claim that I have reached the absolute truth. That's why the people say no one can claim the absolute truth. That is correct. We shouldn't, because most of the people who base their argument on there is no absolute truth, these are atheist philosophers, right? But what they confuse, two groups are confusing. Two groups are confusing. The atheists say, since there is no absolute truth, that in brackets, be careful here, be careful, in bracket, that I can claim. That's correct. Now, since there is no absolute truth, why should we bother about absolute truth? But that is your case. Now, the believing people say, there is an absolute truth, I have to catch it. Everybody says, and as a Buddhist, I've got the absolute truth. As a Muslim, I got the absolute truth. As an atheist, I got the absolute truth. The appearance of the sayings, claims of the philosophers make it right. No one can claim the absolute truth because any claim is what? Subjective.
But it means that at any point in time,
Yes.
you can say, with the information that I had, or with the investigation that I've done, with the training that I've undergone, this is my subjective belief, and I will
Yes.
act upon it. But that could be completely wrong.
Oh,
So,
you
for
don't
example,
know. Who can make it sure that it is not wrong?
Only you can
What-
do it.
because my belief is that there are things that are inherently right and inherently wrong. For
But it's
example,
external to you.
Yeah, right.
The absolute
exactly,
truth.
and that's the whole the process.
Yeah.
The reason we go through this is to find the things that are absolute, the
Yeah,
things
but
that
we are seeking.
exactly.
No, excuse me. Don't. If you are free, but the way you think that you are a free thinker person, you are following your Christian theology because they say there's no end, so you should stop questioning and submit and have faith. It is not true.
No, that's not really what I'm saying.
No. But under the influence of this trend of thinking, question this one.
I'm not saying you shouldn't question. I'm saying you shouldn't act on something if you're not sure that it's right. So, for example, let's say I was born into a Christian, an extremist Christian family where anyone who's
Forget about it. That don't refer to your
okay,
case.
let's
Speak as a human
let's say
being.
a hypothetical scenario where I'm born in a society where anyone that's not from this religion should not exist. So then I go and if I believe this, then I go through my Q&A and I believe that everyone that's not from my faith should die. So then I go about killing all these people because we don't believe that there are things that are inherently right or wrong, which is like killing someone versus letting them live. So if we
No.
believe that that's fine,
No, it
then-
depends on you. No, any claim declared by a human being is bound to be subjective. We have to accept this.
Yeah.
We have to. It doesn't mean that there's no external absolute truth, but no one can claim the absolute truth. That's why.
but can you be subjective and wrong?
Yes, of course.
Exactly.
No.
So if you're
You
subjective but
can
wrong,
be-
does that justify it?
No. We don't know.
Can
No
you-
one knows. How can you know for sure that something is wrong? No. Subjective. You any decision, anybody who says, I am a Muslim, I am a prophet, I am, I don't know, son of God, whatever you say from your heart, whether that's your decision, it means it is an absolute truth. Absolutely, it is not a truth for me because it is bound to be subjective. It is your own. It is according to you, it's correct. According to somebody else is like that. According to, we have to understand that according to you, according to me, no one can claim the absolute truth, including even, do you have the concept of prophethood? As a person, prophets, employed by God, including the prophets.
But then, can we say like an absolute truth is that a human being needs water to survive? Let's like simplify it, as opposed to like say the absolute truth is like love or whatever. If we simplify it, can we, even though you haven't experimented with every single person on the planet, can you know for sure that if you don't get water for I don't know, for a month, then you will die? It's almost certain in this
is
world.
what you are observing in the order of the creation. It is not your conclusion about the source of existence of this world.
Right, but
No,
can you say that this is sort of like, even though we don't, you're saying you can't know for sure if killing is a bad thing.
No,
But can
we
you
have
know-
to- look, we have to stop here.
Okay.
No, we're time-wise. Now, it is good to hear the alternative ideas so that we will know with the Q&A process how it works. It's absolutely amazing, and I love it. But look, you are confusing, if you like, the platforms you are confusing. Now, from life experience, we have never seen within the order that a person lived for 100 years without drinking water. So our conclusion is absolute truth, it means everybody agrees on in the world that no one can live in this world without drinking water for 100 years, right? So maybe 1 year, maybe 6 months, doesn't matter. Now, that is how we see the world working. But working, how the order is, very simple terms. But it doesn't mean that my conclusion, that my responsibility is not there. So how long a person can live without water? Some say 30 days, some say 3 days, some say 5 days, all right? It's not my real responsibility as far as my humanity is concerned. As far as my humanity is concerned, I have to decide the source of existence of anything. For example, in this life expectancy without water is 5 days. So what? 10 days. So what? But who put this order there? Who am I and what is my responsibility between this reality and what am I going to, how am I going to explain the existence of this reality? Belief is the explanation of the existence of the reality of what is going on in this order of the universe. Someone says there is no order, this is just chaos, but settle down chaos, turn it into order. Okay?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Amira, yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you for arranging everything.
Oh, thank you for being flexible.
But last week,
Yeah.
did you hear the news?
No.
The room was available and reserved
Uh-huh.
under your name.
Okay.
There was no projector.
There wasn't a projector. Okay.
So without projector, really, Wednesday,
On Wednesday?
every Wednesday,
Okay. I will tell them and we will get one.
every week, you don't have to reorder.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You know how to do that.
Yeah, I will do
We
it.
appreciate your,
No problem.
thank you. So when I see that this is a pencil, it writes, right? That's why the main problem with the people, the time is really squeezing me. And the problem is when we see how the order has been established, whether it has an order or not, how the world works. My responsibility is to know the source of existence of this world. Question it. That is belief. First, we have to question, then we can get answer. The answer is our belief. The belief is not separated from our answer because the belief cannot exist in suspension. Belief is your answer. Look, at any stage, you reach a point where the A is with the Q next to it, but you are dead. You are given death. But you didn't have the opportunity to question between Q and A and come to another A. That's it.
So how does the belief relate to right and wrong?
Sorry?
How does the belief relate to your
Nothing,
understanding
none.
of right and wrong?
No,
It has nothing to
that
do
is
with
up to you. There's nothing to do with you. No one can talk about it. No one can claim the absolute truth. No one can claim the absolute truth.
So at any point in time, your belief is just
Your
subjective to
conclusion.
you, and it's
Of
neither
course,
right nor wrong.
Of course, it's subjective. You cannot.
It's subjective, but it's neither right nor wrong.
Well, according to you, because that's your answer, according to you, it is correct. That's why subjective. According to you, it is correct. That's why subjective. Do you understand this? We have to refresh, and I have to go next week. Lovely discussion.
I'm not here next week, but thank you. This was
What?
great. I won't be here next week, but this was great.
Why don't you listen or streamline
Online.
or
Oh, okay.
YouTube,
Okay.
not following week? As long as you are alive, Q&A session
No, I
is
don't live in
open.
New York. I don't live in New York.
Sorry?
But I don't live in New York, but
Why
should
did you
probably
come
stream.
only once then? Okay, welcome. Thank you. Look, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, you had something to say.
I was just gonna say that the only question that exists is who am I? Pretty much, it answers all of
So-
the questions
No one can claim absolute truth.
about who.
Those people who say, look, let's the last word, without closing the session, that there is no absolute truth. It cannot be absolute because no one can claim the absolute truth. So everybody is in suspension. It means open to Q&A. Q&A. There is no moment in no one's life without Q&A. Every A is the cause of, not the cause of creation side, is the source of another Q. Never forget this. There is no A without another Q. It means we are dead. Yeah? There is no way no one can claim the absolute truth. We have to train our mind and try to understand this so that our life will be always vibrating. It means heart is beating. It means you are alive. If someone says, I'm done, dead. I am a Christian, I am a Muslim, I believe in the Quran, sure, finished. Quran is the source of absolute truth. It means this man is declaring his death. That is a very important point to me. Bismillah.